Welcome to another broadcast of the High Net Worth Investors Guide. In the event that you're joining us for the first time, I want to say that the High Net Worth Investors Guide is a unique platform of learning. On this platform, you get to learn how to prepare yourself for success. You get to learn how to apply yourself after success. And as you attain success, you will also learn how to manage success. Along with this, we talk a lot about wealth expansion. So as you get success and you're managing success, there must be a way to expand. So on this platform, we talk a lot about those subject matter. Today, we will be talking, we will be giving some high level overview of smarter ways to invest in real estate, smarter ways to start a business, and smarter ways to create passive income cash flow. So I promise you that today is going to be a very informative session that's going to help you to really understand smart ways of becoming and positioning yourself to become a high net worth investor. Of course, I have an extremely talented individual in studio with me today. His name is no other than Paul Whitehouse. Paul Whitehouse, he represents a very unique platform, which is the Patriot Business Finance Consultants. And what he does is really helps you to access the much needed capital to grow and scale your business. Paul, for those persons who might be viewing you for the first time or viewing this program for the first time, can you introduce yourself to help the audience to understand who's Paul?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, everybody, for watching our show. Yeah, my name is Paul Whitehouse. I'm one of two owners of Patriot Business Finance Consultants. And to sum it up and make it real quick, we are consultants, which means we're on your side. We're not technically, you can maybe call us loan brokers because we arrange the financing. But a broker is a cold term, and really a broker just wants to get a deal done for you. As consultants, we make sure that we get the best outcome, the best loan structure, the best term, and lowest cost of money. So equipment financing, real estate financing, factoring, purchase order financing, capital raises, Securities and Exchange Commission compliant capital raises for large projects. And that sums it up real quick.
All right, thanks for that, Paul. I want to begin by also saying this, that starting a business is a high net worth investment exercise. Starting a business, investing in real estate, attempting to create passive income cash flow, they are all high net worth investors practice when you're going about doing this in the right way. Today, what I will do, I will look at smart ways in which you can start a business, smart ways in which you could invest in real estate, and smart ways in going about creating passive income cash flow. But just before we get into today's program, I want to encourage you to call a friend, tell a friend that the High Net Worth Investors Guide is on, and they need to tune into this program to really take away some of the hacks that you're going to learn today. While you do so, I will go for a short commercial break, and we will be right back.
The High Net Worth Investor's Guide, where art meets science. Explore tools, processes, and systems that empower you to accelerate your journey to a seven-figure business. Access smart funding solutions for 6 and 7-figure enterprises. Harness capital for multiple income streams. Master the art and science of debt mitigation to build wealth faster. Experience comprehensive business support to propel your success at a budget that suits you. The High Net Worth Investor's Guide is tools, processes, and systems that influences success. Win LLC out of New York do more than just support our clients to pitch their businesses to investors access working capital at 0% APR. We also support our clients to grow and scale their businesses faster and cash flow optimize. Pitch Deck 111 LLC recent partnership with 10X Branding Marketing LLC and Global Capital Inc. out of the USA has enabled us to form unique partnership with multiple financial institutions, which means we can do even more to accelerate the success of our clients. Let Pitch Deck 101 LLC give you the support you need to pitch to investors, access capital, access new markets and grow, and scale your business. Contact us now on 332-235-1099 for a free consultation. Portal Summit. Are you a rising star in business academia, public speaking, sports, law, medicine, or an influencer? Becoming a best-selling author can open doors to connect with top figures in various fields. Discover how the Bestseller Portal team can assist you. 1. Assisting clients in the creation, refinement, design, and publication of their books, biographies, and autobiographies. 2. Strategizing and executing promotional campaigns while navigating global markets and linguistic diversity to enhance the visibility of your literary works. 3. Nurturing our clients' transformation into esteemed public speakers and influential thought leaders. 4. Elevating your books into dynamic digital learning content. 5. Cultivating multiple streams of income from your literary works and beyond. Enroll today for the prestigious Bestseller Portal Annual Summit and position yourself as an eminent authority and trailblazer within your chosen sphere. Winna LLC out of New York do more than just support our clients to pitch their businesses to investors access working capital at 0% APR. We also support our clients to grow and scale their businesses faster and cash flow optimize. Pitch Deck 101 LLC recent partnership with 10X Branding Marketing LLC and Global Capital Inc. out of the USA has enabled us to form unique partnership with multiple financial institutions, which means we can do even more to accelerate the success of our clients. Let Pitch Deck 101 LLC give you the support you need to pitch to investors, access capital, access new markets and grow, and scale your business. Contact us now on 332-235-1099 for a free consultation. The high net worth.
I'm talking on mute. All right. Welcome back to the High Net Worth Investors Guide. And Paul, just before we get into the meat of today's program, can I ask you to walk us through some of the financial instruments and financial tools that you have to help persons in business or in real estate or in other aspects of their life? Can you help us to understand that?
Definitely, Gary. Before I get into that, I just wanted to say one thing. I've incorporated this. I really like the way you say high net worth. Every business endeavor is a high net worth investment exercise, because it is.
Yeah.
If you're going to start a pizza shop, you need to go into that with the vision of you want to have. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what you need to do, but you want to have 15 of those things. A franchise. Truly, who doesn't want to bring in tens of millions instead of hundreds of thousands? So I just really want to let you know I like the way that you framed that.
Thank you, and I really believe it is a high net worth investors exercise. But I think that very often when you underestimate the cost of doing business, there is where you devalue your entire process, and by simply devaluing that, you can undermine the potential of that business to succeed. And we will definitely explore some of that in our conversation today.
Yeah, I've personally done that before early in my life. So I really like the way you point that out. Now, as far as the finance programs that we have available to help people do these types of things, if we're talking about real estate, then real estate financing. The lenders that we represent are not your local bank. Hold on one second. Let me get rid of this dog. Sure hope everybody didn't hear him licking his water like he does. All right. So real estate financing, what does that look like? Well, if you are 740 credit score and above, and you are an experienced real estate investor, that looks like 20% down. It doesn't just look like it. That's what it would say on the term sheet. So every real estate investment, every single real estate investment requires skin in the game, money down. Now let's go to the further end of the scale. Hard money lenders, very difficult credit deals, but they're going to say yes. Okay. That's going to look like 35% down. That's the lender's risk level. They'll advance 65% of the money. The investor, the client, has to put 35% into the project. And everything in between, that's the best case scenario. That's the worst case scenario. Let's go to middle ground. Let's talk about a 660, 680, 640, 620 credit score. We don't have to go to hard money lending. We have lenders who specifically look for that business. That's what they want because they know that it's a market. It's America. Not everybody's golden. People have had problems. So there are lenders who understand that and are willing to give that go, make it happen, so that person can raise their score, make money, invest in real estate, and own properties. And we've got a lot of programs. That's just one of them. Let me say this as well, Gary. Our lenders, a lot of people say to me sometimes, well, I'm just going to go to my bank, or maybe my bank will do that for me. They might. I mean, they are in the business of lending money, so they will, under certain circumstances. If you don't fit into your bank's profile, lending profile, well, you might have been friends with them for 20 years. You might have been banking there since you were a kid, but they're still going to say no, because if you don't fit in the profile, your loan officer simply can't do anything about it. Let's contrast that with what we can offer for you. We have probably 40 plus real estate lenders that we can work with. Now, we don't really work with all 40 of them. We've zeroed in on who we work with consistently. But these lenders, they only lend on real estate financing. They only lend on investment property real estate financing. So they're here to say yes. They're here to, they want to participate in you building wealth and owning real estate and collecting money every month on rents.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for that share, Paul. What I want to add to what you said is that, whether you're thinking about investing in a business or investing in real estate, or, identifying and creating passive income cash flow portfolios to invest in, it's important to see this as high net worth investment. It is an exercise that, only the best of the best should be really thinking about. And our vision here and our mission here is to provide you with a content of information that can help you to become better in starting your business process, better in going into real estate, or better in creating, passive and smart investment portfolios. And one of the things that I want to leave with you today is that as you position yourself to become a high net worth investor, it's important for you to know that this is not an emotional decision. It should never be a decision that is based on emotion. It should be a decision that you're making based on data. There's a couple of things that I want to walk you through here. Now, whether you're starting a business or going to invest in real estate, one of the things that you should be looking at is what we call the market stress testing. You see, many persons make an investment decisions without market stress testing. And why the market stress test is so important. And Paul would say this to you all the time. He would say to you, hey, in some cases, he would say to you, he wants you to go to the market and stress test your market and sell your products or your service for the whole year in front of you, so you know that you have cash flow coming in. We're not doing this because we want to make it difficult for you, but we're doing it because we want to make it safe for you. And this is part of the stress test. But let's go into a couple of things that you should be thinking about when you are serious about taking practical steps to position yourself as a high net worth investor who is really an investor and not gambling, in any way possible. We don't want you to gamble. We want you to invest. And there's a right and wrong way to do this. Now, in the case of starting a business or even, investing in real estate as an income unit, you want to ensure that your brand is established some degree of relevance. And there's where we talk about brand relevance. And what exactly does this mean? It means that whether you're starting a business, you're providing a service, you want to know before you start that it is relevant to the market needs. All right, it is relevant to the market needs. And I say this against the backdrop. You may be excited and make an emotional decision to buy a piece of property somewhere, but you didn't take the time to research the area to see if the area has crime, if the area had an oil spill, if the area is conducive to human, sustainable livelihood. You didn't do that. You made an emotional decision. Now you buy that piece of property. You made an emotional decision to do that. And then you recognize because of all of these factors, you cannot achieve the financial goal in making that purchase. All right. So you want to stress test the market. You want to go to the market and get, the right information. The same thing with a business. All right. You just don't make a decision to invest or borrow money from Paul to get a business started because Paul is here and you could access the money. And the reason we are doing all of this is because we want to ensure that the community really understand the right and wrong way in going about accessing capital, the right and wrong way in starting a business, the right and wrong way in investing. So we talk about stress testing. The second concept that I want to share with you here, and I trust that, you in the public, you may be taking notes. You want to know the market viability. Just don't make a decision to start a business because you assume you're going to make money. Just don't make a decision to buy a piece of property because you assume it's the right thing to do. That's emotional decision. All right. And smart investors, they just don't make those type of emotional decisions. And Paul will tell you a lot about that. All right. They make decisions based on data. So market viability is something for us to look at. For you to understand market viability, it means that you're taking the time or you're working with professionals like myself and Paul who will say to you, okay, the market size is this, and your ideal client represents this segment of the market. And based on these factors, the market look as it has great potential, or the market has great potential based on data. So there's a way in which you can go about putting yourself in a position of strength to predetermine the viability of that market. And you need this decision. If you don't have this type of information, you may be gambling instead of investing. And that's the last thing that we want our clients to do. Again, this is why we are taking the time to discuss these issues. You want to say something, Paul?
Well, yeah. What you said brought up a memory. Okay, data, market research, right? East Liverpool, Ohio. Google it, check it out for anybody listening. Last year, there was a train wreck, a very bad train.
Yeah.
You heard about it. Okay, train wreck. What do you think the federal government did? Go federal government, yay. They came in and they burned the chemicals. Everything that was remaining, they burned it. Okay, now here's what the people of East Liverpool are dealing with. You go to the creeks and the streams in the woods, and you got oil, you got chemicals in there. So imagine if you, simply not knowing it, you bought a single family, or you bought a duplex, or you bought a fiveplex or an apartment building in East Liverpool, Ohio. Do you think families are going to want to? Yeah, do you think families are going to want to move their kids in there? It's less likely when they could move 50 miles away to a place that doesn't have that. So
exactly.
Yeah, market research, very, very important.
Exactly. I'm glad that you shared that story because that's a real story, that has happened. And if you're making the decision to buy real estate in those areas, it's going to come back to bite you. All right. And you could have avoided that had you talked with Paul, had you talked with perhaps your market researchers to ensure that you have the right information before you make that investment decisions. All right. And this is what smart investors do. Now, the next concept that I want us to look at here, because I'm going through a checklist of things that you should be checking when you're attempting to either start a business, invest in real estate, or position yourself to create, passive income cash flow. The next thing that you want to check is to be certain that whatever product or service that you're providing, it is urgent and it is immediate. And just let me explain why I'm saying this. Again, you may be making an emotional decision to start a project. And let us suppose that that project is air travel to a particular location. So you want to provide the air transportation and accommodation to move to that specific location. But you didn't do the analysis, you didn't do the market research, as Paul would have said to see if people have an urgent and immediate need to go to that type of recreation outlet. But you made an emotional decision because you think in your mind it is something that is beautiful, you're excited about it, but you really didn't do a broad market analysis to see if you're reaching an urgent and immediate need. And there are ways in which you could collect this type of information to help you to make an informed and educated business decision, and again to help you to make this smart investment decision. The last thing that we want is that you contact Paul, you get access to capital because Paul always said that you approve and he's going to work with you to ensure that you're approved. But guess what? You're approved, but you didn't really check to see if you're reaching an urgent and immediate need. So every 6 months, the business is cash flowing. When you had in mind that the business would have cash flow on a monthly basis or twice a month, so that undermines your business potential to cash flow, it undermines the cash flow projection. And guess what? You start to encounter difficulties to make your monthly debt obligation, to reach your monthly debt obligation. And in cases where you are putting up assets as equity to access the capital and you're now unable to honor your monthly obligation, what happens? All right, Paul can tell you all about that. So this is another thing that I want you to really check in to ensure that when you're going, if you invest in real estate, you want to know that wherever you're going to be investing to purchase real estate as an investment asset, that there's going to be either urgent commercial use or urgent, people use. All right, rental use. You want to be certain that it's urgent. You don't want to have a property either for commercial or residential in your hand and you have 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year being passed and it's not cash flow optimizing. And as Paul would have said, if you have the right information, here is where you're going to be able to make the smartest decision. Anything, Paul?
Yeah, a couple things come to mind. Well, 2 levels on that. You buy a piece of real estate, you buy a duplex, but you don't research to see what the rents are in that area.
Yeah.
You pay too much for it. You pay too much for it. You didn't do the math. Do the math. So you pay too much for it. All of a sudden, you're making $10 every month after you pay all the bills. That's not going to work for you at all. Let's go to another example. High crime areas, California, San Francisco. People are looting stores, looting commercial properties, and they don't get in trouble. So what does that lead to? That's going to lead to more of it. So do you really want to buy a commercial property there so you can rent it to somebody who's going to put a store there? You're going to be the landlord. Somebody's going to run a business in the property that you provide and make available for them. But you take possession of that property, you go through the process, you take possession of it, you put it on the market, and all of a sudden you recognize, no, nobody wants to rent here in downtown San Diego. Wonder why? What do you mean, wonder why? Don't you watch the news? You should have checked that out. So there's a lot of things that can go good, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that can go bad, but both of those things that can go good and turn out good, they come from research. They come from information. You have to know it.
You're perfectly correct. On that point that you have made, also, I reflect on some of the things that we talked about early on. Making an investment decision is not necessarily buying cheap, because guess what? It might be an area that is, full of crime, like you just explained. So the owners just want to get it off their hand quick, so they sell it cheap. You don't buy because it's cheap. You buy because it makes business sense. You buy because you know you can cash flow,
Yeah.
and you need the data. You need the data. So go ahead, Paul.
Well, imagine if everybody's a motivated seller, right? They're motivated by something. What if the seller is motivated because they got robbed last month and they don't tell you and you don't know it? They're motivated and you think, oh, I got a great deal. You
Mhm.
didn't buy an asset, you bought a liability because
Exactly.
you have a difficult time renting it and you might get robbed too.
Or who you rent to might get robbed, and guess what? They move, so you have high occupancy turnover. You have low occupancy level, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that you need to take about, because it's going to undermine your investment dollars, and that's the last thing that you want. So it comes back again to data. The last concept that I'm going to come at here before I really go into what I call evidence-based marketing, I want to talk about, how do you know that the market has the ability and the willingness to pay? And just think about this, because sometimes again people make emotional decisions. Perhaps we might have made some ourselves. You buy a piece of land, and you put up a beautiful, real estate apartment rental, and you put in all the amenities, only to recognize after that the cost that you want to rent at, the consumers that comes into that area, guess what? They just don't have the disposable income to pay for that quality of work that you have just built out. And the people that have the money don't want to come into that particular community, because it may not be a gated community. It may not be, a whole host of factors. So the point is that as you begin to position yourself to become a high net worth investors, you need data, you need information. And the element of information that you need here is to always put yourself in that position of strength, where you know that your ideal client, they have the ability and they have the willingness to pay for your value offer. You need to know this. All right. You may know they may have a need. This is what we talk about. All right. Everybody has a need. All right. But do you know if the person or persons that have that need, do you know if they have the ability and the willingness to pay for your product? You see, everybody may want to live in a luxury apartment, but do they have the disposable income to pay for that accommodation that you are providing? And again, if you do the research, as Paul is talking about, as we're talking about, if you do the data collection, it will really help you to make smarter business decisions. The same principle applies to starting a business. You're starting a business, and you believe that, one, that the business is going to be targeting everyone. And I would normally say that is far from the truth. All right. Now, you may start a business and you put a high price on your product because you, in your mind, is a premium product or a premium service, and that may go well with those that fits into that type of demographic who can pay for it. But guess what? Because the the cost of your products and services is so high, it has simply priced out another demographic, but you didn't take that into consideration. Now, what we have seen also very often, you may decide on introducing your brand to the market at the lowest cost, with a perception that if you introduce the product to the market at the lowest cost, you're going to attract everybody. But guess what? There's psychographics, and they have middle class and upper class. When they hear it's too cheap, guess what? It's a turn off, not a turn on, because they equate cheap with being inferior products. But because you don't have the data, you again making an emotional investment decision to start a business. And because the decision is emotional, you undermine your chance of being successful in business. And again, you would have heard Paul talk about data. I want to quickly move into a concept that we call evidence-based marketing. Again, starting a business, invest in real estate, or attempting to create passive income cash flow is a high net worth investor's exercise. And there's right and wrong ways in which you can go about doing this. And I really trust in that if you don't have the right information to go about this in the right way, that you make contact with your consultants who can guide you along this path, or you can reach out to us in the event that you don't have that type of consultant. But I want to begin by saying this. There's a concept that we talk about, market orientation. Market orientation. And what exactly does this mean? To be market oriented, it means that you are research oriented. And there are traditionally two equations to the research method. There's what we call secondary research, and there's primary research. But in the office, we talk and we laugh a lot because many persons push secondary research out of the window, and they push primary research completely out of the door. And they talk about what they practice is what we call speculative data analysis. And what is that? Everything that we have just talked about. You start in a business, you're making a purchase on real estate, and you just speculate that it's going to be hip, hip, hooray. And you're using speculation as a tool to make informed and educated business decision. You can't do that. All right. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt those who are investing with you. You're going to create sleepless nights, not for yourself, but for perhaps those around you. Let's think about this. Let me just put this to you. When you use speculation, think about this. Your mom and your dad, they work all of their lives and they acquire asset. And you come to mom and dad, and you go to mom and dad and you say, Mom, Dad, I know you love me from the depths of your heart, and I want to start a business, but I need some equity. So I need to put your asset up, your home up, as an equity, to guarantee, my money. You're putting their property as collateral to get money to put into your business. But guess what? Mom and dad, because they love you from the depths of their heart, they say, son or daughter, I love you and I'll do anything for you. And they give you the title of the land, and you take it to the bank, and you get the fund. And you're using speculative data to build out your business systems and processes. And guess what? 6 months, a year down the line, it didn't work because you're speculating. And the bank says to you, okay, you have not been paying your monthly debt obligation on time and consistently. And you haven't paid for the last 4 months. And we have no choice but to foreclose. What do you think you're doing to mom and dad? Mom and dad work hard and they work for years, to keep you secure and to ensure that they have some security in their, mature age. and you take a risk because you're using speculation. So this is why I say when you use speculation as an investor, you can hurt yourself and you can hurt those around you. And myself and Paul and our team, that's the last thing that we want you to do. And that's why we are spending time with you to talk about these issues so as to ensure that when you're attempting to do this, you're going about it in the right way. Paul, anything?
A lot. Yeah. That's a very interesting example you brought up, and it happens a lot in real life for sure.
It
Okay.
does.
So mom and dad their view was clouded by love and trust. They loved you, they believed you, and they trusted you. But they didn't know that you didn't do the research. You said you did, they believed you, but apparently you didn't. And mom and dad should have taken the approach that high level, high net worth, high level investors take. Anytime they say they consider putting money into a project, they themselves do a feasibility study. They don't trust the founder of the company.
Exactly.
That sounds so negative. It's not that they don't trust you, but let me ask the viewers this: if you were going to drop $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, $60 million and into a project, would you look into it deeply? You should, very deeply. Mom and dad should have taken that same approach, asked for a lot more, um, but they were clouded by love. That happens. You should definitely err towards the side. If you're considering buying a business, look into the area. I mean, here's an example, and I'm using this example because I know somebody who owns this type of business. She owns a spa, right? Now she chose, and I learned so much from this lady. She is brilliant. I learned so much from her. When she opened her spa, she put it in a location because she knew that there wasn't another location like hers for X amount of miles. The populate When people go to a spa, they're not driving from 100 miles away or 50 miles away, probably within that 12, 15-mile area to get to where they're going, maybe 20, right? So you got to see how many businesses like yours are in that region. And just touching on something you said earlier, the client avatar, knowing who your client is, that's another thing that I learned from this brilliant woman. She knows who her client avatar is because she drew it up and she knows how to do that stuff. If you don't, study it and learn how to do it. She doesn't even worry about price because she knows that her clients can afford it. She's looking for people who have disposable income, who want to take care of themselves. Men and women, but it's a spa, so mostly women, but certainly there's men who go to her spa. But
Hmm.
she knows the profile. She's not looking for somebody who can't afford next month's bill. She's looking for somebody who wants to plug in, make their appointment every 2 months, every 3 months. And here's the interesting part about that. She only needs so many customers, X amount of customers to fill her bookings. She's got herself, 2 employees. So looks like probably 120 hours that needs to be booked every month, or probably more than that. But whatever it is, she's only looking for X amount. She doesn't need 10,000 clients. Some businesses do need 10,000 reoccurring clients. Some don't. Know what your business is. If you only need to fill X amount of booked appointment hours per month, then what are you looking at? You're looking at 70, 80 clients that you got to secure, keep happy. That's possible, but you got to do the market research to know that it's possible.
Exactly. I really love those points that you made. And on the point of um, market research is an unavoidable um, part of doing business. And when you try to avoid doing the market research, you're setting yourself up for disaster because instead of you going into the dark room with a torchlight, you're going into the dark room with a blindfold over your eyes. And guess what? In that dark room, they got potholes perhaps that goes 20 feet down. But because you don't have a torchlight, you don't know how to avert fallen into one of those holes. And that's the importance of research. Now, as we talk about research, there is secondary research. And what secondary research helps you to do is to collect published data, evaluate published data, and to make an informed and educated decision of what you should do and should not do based on the market realities. The risk about secondary research is that market data can change. All right. So if you're pulling data that is 5 years old as against data that is 10 years old, or it could even be data that is 1 year old, things can change. And if you are not taking those changes into consideration and you're making investment decision simply based on collecting of data but not double checking based on market realities, again, you're going to set yourself up to be hurt. Because let's take, for example, um, you want to do business in Manhattan because, Manhattan, you had the high net worth players in Manhattan, but you didn't take into consideration that during 2021 and 2022, many of those high net worth individuals who lost income, they were shifting to other areas. So you had thousands and perhaps many thousands of persons moving out of the Manhattan area. But these are the exact people that you were targeting. And you set up business to target those people. And because data changed from a year ago, guess what happened? You set up business to appeal to them, but they're no longer there. So your investment dollars can go down the drain because you didn't take the shift in realities that are taking place in the market into consideration as you set up business and make your investment. Several things happen. You hurt yourself, mommy, dad, and uncle and aunt, but you also lose the confidence and trust of the persons who are investing with you. And as Paul would have rightly said, what investors are doing today, they are becoming more market oriented. They are doing a lot of more due diligence before they put investment dollars in your hands, because the facts are showing that less than 20% of the portfolios that they're investing in becomes solid investment portfolios. That means that they are losing in over 80% of the portfolios that they're invested in. And this is why they're adopting the tool that we call market research. The last element of market research that I'm going to look at here is what is known as the primary market research. And my boy, everyone runs away from primary market research because the primary market research is about putting the boots on your legs and going to the ground to get the information. And in most cases, it's about you hiring a team of persons to go out there, knock on door, and collect the information that is you're going to now make an assessment with. And think about this. You hired 500 persons or 1,000 persons to go knock on doors and interface with what can become your ideal client. And you're paying 1,000 persons, let us say, $40 an hour, $20 an hour. That sum is going to add up. And this research is being conducted over a month, 2 months, or 3 months. The sum is going to add up. So most rising star in business, you either don't have the capital to do this. So in most cases, you're actually forced to go into business with that blindfold across your eyes. And there are other businesses that may see it as a high cost while having the money to do it. And there are going to be other businesses that are going to happily just go and make this investment because they understand the power of doing the primary market research. And I'm going to give a hack just now. Now, the businesses that have the capital to do the research and is doing that research, they are not seeing this just as a capital expenditure, an expense. Because guess what primary market research helps you to do? Because you're knocking on door. You know the name of the person as you do that survey. You know their age. You have their contact number, you have their address, you have the buyer data. If that research is set up properly, you have the buyer data. So guess what? There are smart ways in which you could do that interview. If you have a good sales communication professional that is helping you with that interview, they can sell your brand even before you produce. They can sell your services even before you start to the ideal client and get customer buy-in. So when Paul says to you, sell 1 year of inventory, all right, 1 year of inventory, and you are deploying primary market research. Guess what? When you come with all of those names and perhaps get some guarantee buyers and subscribers to your brand, you're now able to reach the pre-qualification criteria that Paul asks you to do. All right. Now, this may be capital intensive, but is there hacks to this? Yes. You might be fortunate to be the kind of individual that have a community behind you. You're in a church and you're influencing the church, so you're able to pull out 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 persons with you to go do that research. And guess what? They're doing this for you pro bono. They're supporting you and to make it happen. So there are creative ways in which you can collect primary data to help you in your business decision making process. All right. So you're not gambling, you're investing. And this is what smart investors do. On the High Net Worth Investors Guide, our role is to ensure that we provide you with this type of information that's going to help you to make smarter decisions. Paul, I want to pause a bit and just ask you to chime in a little bit and also tell us a little bit more about your financial instruments, because I really want the audience to also know that we have capital to help them in real estate. We have capital to help them in their business startup and their business scale up. And we are not saying what we're saying here to scare them away from getting into business or getting into real estate. But we're saying what we're saying and doing what we're doing because we want them to be more educated about the best way to go about doing this. All to you, Paul.
Thanks, Gary. Well, investing is planning to win and expecting to win because you've collected all the data and you've put the odds in your favor. Gambling is you expect to lose because people go into casinos with $200 in their pocket and they say, when I hit the 200, when I lose my $200, I'm done for the night. They expect to lose. Gambling, you don't even care if you win or lose. You're just going for the fun, I guess, if you compare it to the casino stuff. If that's fun, losing $200 doesn't sound like fun.
Tell me.
Yeah, but investing is planning to win. You're putting all the odds in your favor. You've checked everything. And if some things don't line up, then you're just not going to do it. So what can we do for you? What products do we offer? There's few areas that we cannot help you with as far as business financing. Okay, you're an existing business or a startup, but you need a piece of equipment. That's not necessarily small because equipment can cost $10,000 to millions of dollars. So Patriot Business Finance Consultants can help you get individual pieces of equipment. We would do that through equipment leasing. You lease it. At the end of the payments, you own it. Leasing is the best way to get equipment for your business. It's what all the biggest companies do. Coca-Cola, General Motors, you name the biggest of companies. They don't pay cash ever. Never have, never will. They keep their cash for opportunities and emergencies and a balance sheet. You got cash on hand, your company looks strong. You spend all your cash, it doesn't look strong. So use financing as the tool that it is. So, as simple as getting a piece of equipment for your business. Okay, got that handled for you. There's tax advantages to equipment leasing. That's the other reason big companies do it and use it. So equipment financing, we've got you covered. The best of credit to very difficult credit deals. If you need equipment for your business, that's what we do. Okay. Real estate financing, same scenario. the best of credit, very difficult credit deals, everything in between, commercial properties, investment properties for purchase, refinance, pull cash out, um, factoring. Factoring, if your cash flow is slow, well, your accounts receivable, I like the way I didn't make this one up, but I like the way that somebody said it before. Your accounts receivable are perhaps your greatest business asset because that's a bunch of money that people owe you. It's
Yeah.
money. It's already your money, but you're waiting for it. Okay. And that's how it is. You do business to business, you deliver to your client, and you're going to give them an invoice. That's just how it's done. Everybody expects it. And if you don't offer terms, they're going to move to somebody else. So you have to offer terms. Now, if cash flow is slow because your business is increasing, your business is growing, and you're outgrowing your cash flow, there's a program called factoring. We set you up with it, pretty simple and easy. Your business credit doesn't matter. It's your clients, your buyers, their credit is what matters. They have to be good payers. So you deliver your product, and instead of waiting 30 days, and by the way, if somebody pays in 30 days, they're a real good customer because a lot of people pay in 40 days or 35 or 45 or 60. So your cash flows slow. How do you speed that up so you can maintain everything and pay the bills? It's factoring. You sell your accounts receivable. You can sell all of them. You can choose which ones you want to sell. And 80% of that invoice is advanced to you from the factoring company the day after you submit the invoice. So that's cash flow so you can operate your business, right? What about the other 20%? Well, that gets paid down the road when your client pays their bill. That invoice, well, you sold it to the factoring company. So the factoring company collects on the invoice. They keep the 80% that they already advanced to you. And the other 20% that's still owed to you, they pay you right away, minus 1%, potentially up to 2 points or 3 points. That all depends on, there's factors that depends on. But long story short on that, you perform the service, deliver the product, perform your service, and you're cashing out on your invoice with 80% upfront and the other 20% minus the fee. So what's that really look like? You're getting 97 to 98 cents on the dollar, and you're getting the advantage of getting 80% of your money upfront immediately instead of having to wait. Factoring is an incredible program for cash flow and to keep a business thriving while it's growing. Purchase order financing. Walmart buys $1 million worth of shoes for you. You got the order. You're like, Walmart, wow, I got the deal, but I can't fulfill the deal because I don't have the money to pay the shoe manufacturer. What do I do? What do I do? Where do I go? You go to us, and we set you up with purchase order financing. PO financing company is going to pay the bill to manufacture the product, to ship it. And when it arrives at Walmart or whoever your client is, a factoring company is involved in that. Boom, 80% cash out. The purchase order financing company gets paid. They're clear. They're out of it. And if your profit margin's high enough, and it always is, then you make X amount of profit because you got your 80% advanced. And then you still got your other 20% coming to you from the factoring. So purchase order financing is basically like your big brother who steps in, fronts the money for you to get what you need to get done, and you pay him a little bit of money as interest when the deal gets done. So let's talk about Securities and Exchange Commission compliant capital raises. Okay. New program. Patriot Business Finance Consultants would be considered a scout for 2 investment bankers. 10 million and above was their minimum for raising money for projects, kind of like what you see behind me, industrial hemp fiber processing factories. And we still got that program. Startup businesses can help you raise the money for a startup. We can provide growth capital for existing businesses with good financials. You are doing good, you're making money, everything's going good, but you want to multiply what you're doing by 10. You want to keep it going and build the business bigger. You need cash. And That's what a capital raise provides. Now there's two levels of capital raises. There's equity only, and there's debt and equity. Some businesses you can only raise equity for, like tech or some other types of businesses. Other businesses, a best example I can use, you're building a factory, you're bringing economic development to a local municipality, right? They want that. So imagine a ladder. You're walking up the ladder with debt and equity. Maximize low cost equity, minimize high cost equity. First step up the ladder would be grant money. That's free. That's low cost money. So if that's available in your industry, if we're doing the capital raise for you, we're going to maximize, secure all that grant money for you on your behalf because we know how to do it. Next step up the ladder, local government money. That's pretty cheap compared to investor money. You're building a factory, you're bringing employment, you're bringing a tax base. So yeah, that municipality is going to want your factory to be manufacturing center to be located there. Here's a hack. Choose 3 locations. Okay. Ask for an incentive package from 3 economic development corporations. Every county's got one. They're going to give you their package. And you got 3 offers, right? Well, that's where the dogfight begins. That's where the competitive environment begins. Who wants it the most?
Yeah.
Let's maximize that money for you. That can come in the form of forgivable loans, free real estate, a free building. There's a lot of ways that can happen. Next, bump up the ladder. If this applies, it does apply for factories, but the bond markets, that's cheap money. 4, 5, 6, 7%. That's the range, depending on the type of bonds that you use to raise money. Bump up the ladder again. And all these in progression are less expensive than investor money. Bump up the ladder again to lender money, bridge loans, equipment financing, the types of things that we do. All right. After you've maximized all the low cost debt strategies that are available, then you go get investor money. Because if you take all investor money for your project, what do you think they want in return? What would you want in return if you gave
Profits.
Yeah, if you ditched out $100,000, $10 million, $600 million, and you were going to fund an entire project with somebody who had the idea, they got the idea, but they can never implement it without your money, right? It can't happen. That dream won't come true.
Gotcha.
So that if somebody's giving you all the money, what they are going to want in return is 80 to 90% ownership of the project and majority control. How do you make that not happen? I mean, because at that point, you're not the captain of the boat. You are a passenger, a high-paid passenger on the boat, but you're not the captain anymore. Maybe you don't want to be the captain. That's cool. But maybe you do. And if you do, then you can structure capital raises by maximizing equity, low-cost debt, minimizing high-cost equity. There's more to talk about, but I've been talking for a while, Gary, so...
No. I'm enjoying it, because there's so much for us to dive into when it comes to capital raise and smart ways to raise capital.
Mhm.
And as you articulate yourself around the subject, I know for a fact that there is so much of information that people need about this. Depending on where you are in the world, some people are saddled with debt capital. But even in the developed world, we see that many persons still do not understand the financial market. So what we are doing here, we have to repeat this process 1,000 times to ensure that we help people to really understand smart ways of raising capital. All right. And while we are discussing, you discuss a number of financial portfolios there. There's so many we didn't discuss as yet. I'm happy that you mentioned that Walmart, they use a number of strategies. One of the strategies that I talk about with Walmart is that they leverage trade line as a means to access capital. And with trade lines, they leverage them net 30, 60, and 90, which means that they settle the debt within either 30, 60, or 90 days, and they have zero APR to pay on it. And that's a smart, very smart way that rising stars in business, once they have this type of information, they can leverage to their advantage because they are raising capital either at low interest rate APR or they're raising capital at 0% APR when they have the right information. So do you explore all of that? I like that you said that. You explore all of those options, and then you come up to the bigger investors who are going to ask you for either equity in your portfolio, or they're going to ask you for high interest rates. We see to get a clear example of some of what you would have just said. If you look at Shark Tank, we see this happen a lot. You pitch your project, and then they will say, "Okay, I like your project, but I'm going to take, 60% of your project, and this is what I'm going to bring in addition to your operation." But Paul, as we talk about this, one of the things that I also want to say to people, because we missed this part completely, is that all the work and discussion that we had so far is about helping you to safeguard or go about investing the right way. And we talk a lot about accessing capital. But what I want to say, as private equity investors, we're going to come alongside you. Why? Because we can help you. Either we have access to data, or we're going to support you to get access to data. And the reason we are using that data is to significantly help you to scale up your business. We are not just interested in putting money in your hands. We want to put monies in your hands in a responsible way. You have the data to protect how you invest, and you have the data to grow and scale your business. And we see how this operates on Shark Tank too, Paul. A lot of those guys that are going to put money in your business, they understand the sector that they're investing in, and they have connection in those sectors that they're going to invest in. And because they have all of those connections, when they invest in you, they can take you from zero to hero in a very short period of time because of all the connections that they have. And that is something that we are setting up and we are doing right now with our institution. So I really want to encourage persons who are in business and who are preparing to get into business. You don't have the right consultants on your side. Well, I'm giving you the right reasons for you to want to invest time to learn what we are doing and become part of our community. A lot of the financial instruments that Paul has just spoken about, I want to encourage you again to go to the bestseller portal. Go to the bestseller portal. And I want you to get volume 2 of Master the Sales Communication Process. So when you go to bestseller portal, I want you to click on products. On your left-hand side, you will see a drop down. You will see ebooks. And when you press on ebooks, you will see about 9 volumes of the Master the Sales Communication Process. To learn more about the financial instruments that Paul just spoke about, you need to purchase volume 2 of that book. It's an audio book. It's going to help you to understand 21 steps to starting a US-based business, but it will also help you to understand financial instruments. All that Paul would have just spoken about is in that book. So I want to encourage you to get that book. Paul, I want to also, any additional, I know that there's so much to be said on financial instruments, but anything you want to add before we wrap up? Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, something very, very important, I think, which ties back to what we were talking about a little while ago, Gary. So, you will not get a check written from a high net worth investor or from even a lender without a plan.
Exactly.
At all. There has to be a detailed plan backed up by, now there's the highest levels, building factories and raising money for, 10 million, 100 million, 600 million. That's the highest level. You're not going to get a check written. You're not going to get anything. You're not going to get an appointment with somebody to discuss what you want to do unless you have a prepared prospectus with all the details in it. You're not going to talk to nobody. You're going to wish, you're going to wonder, but it's not going to happen. All right. And that ties back into what we were talking about with the child who came to his parents, who spent their whole life working to own their house,
Yeah.
and they said, "Yeah, we believe in you. You're our son." Okay, and they put the money up, but he didn't have a plan. So nobody's going to
Mhm.
give you the money and say, "Good luck. I hope it works. I'll get a hold of you in 5 years to see if you can pay me back." No, they want a board seat. They want to guide the process. They want okay. Now, if you got an investor who wants the board seat, you're going to some people recoil at that, or they want control. Well, why do you think they want control? Because they want the project to be successful too. They want to get their money back plus plus plus, right? They
Exactly.
want money. They want to make money too.
They want unicorns.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but they want they want control and they want participation. That there's levels of this stuff. If you're building a
Yeah.
factory, then yeah, they want a board seat. They want some level of control. And by the way, if you do the debt maximizing debt versus equity, they don't have control. We don't want them when we raise money for you. We don't want to give away control to outside investors. Our goal with raising capital for your project is to keep control and ownership with the founder of the company. But the flip side of that is, why do they want control? So that they can participate and make sure that everybody wins. I mean, imagine if mom and dad were a little bit, had some more financial intelligence and they didn't just trust their child and they
Yeah.
said, okay, I understand what you want to do. Let's dive into this with you. Educate us. Tell us about it so we can all agree. And mom and dad got the knowledge, or if they realize maybe I'm out of my depth on this, they're going to go find somebody who had knowledge and pay that person, because you should
Yeah.
always pay a professional consultant if you don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, you aren't doing heart surgery on yourself to save some money, are you? Why would you? Why would you not involve a consultant when you're doing financial heart surgery? It's that level of importance. It really is. So
Mhm.
if mom and dad would have looked a little bit deeper into that and said, we want to do this with you. We're going to go to the next meeting with you, son, so we can all be involved in this. And that's what investors do. They want
Mhm.
that all the knowledge so they can make the right decisions so that everybody can win. They want to get their
Uh,
money back, and they want to profit, and they want your business to succeed so you can profit as well. Everybody's got to win in everything.
yep. You know, what I want to add before we wrap up, and you can just collect your closing thoughts. You see, a GP, which we call the general partner taking a seat on your board, they are sitting on your board for many, many reasons. Now, one might want to say, hey, you want to sit on the board because, yes, you put in money, and yes, because you want to control. But it's more than just the money, and it's more than just the control. Um, the right GP, general partner, they can really help that business to grow significantly, significantly. And why I'm saying all of this, we have seen many, many. You see, the right GP, general partner, they're going to be coming in with capital, and they're going to be coming in with a wealth of knowledge and experience. Paul and I, we have a wealth of knowledge and experience in certain area of business, and we would not hesitate to share that kind of information to you. But guess what else? Your business might be comfortable where you're at generating, 500,000, $1 million annually. But when the right GP come on your board, because the fact they're coming with market intelligence, they're going to say, hey, you're only targeting 1.5% of the market. What if we can carry this to 10.5 or 20% or more? It's going to significantly shift the equation of the business potential to cash flow, which means that while you're going to be looking at, hey, they're going to be taking a part of the profit, look at it in another way. They are not only 10x in your business cash flow, they may be 20x in your business cash flow. And they're taking, and that's what they're being paid for. The right GP, that's what they're being paid for. So by having the right private equity investors on your side, you it's not hurting you, it's adding to you. And last point that I want to make, Paul, I see very often that persons go into capital raising without thinking about an exit strategy. Private equity investors, they are not investing with you for life. All right. They're investing with you for a finite period, and they have an exit strategy. You should know your exit strategy, and ensure that it is coordinating. Perhaps in our another next week, perhaps Paul, we can look a little bit at some of the exit strategies, because again, we are doing what we are doing because we want persons to have a clear mental picture of what capital raise, capital investment, capital mitigation is all about. And part of the mitigation process is you must know what is your exit strategy. And what we can do, we can help you to identify safe exiting strategies. So your company doesn't go IPO if going IPO is not what you want. Because private equity investors, one of their exit strategy, and the reason they're going to have a seat on the board is that they want to safeguard their monies. And one way in which they might say, okay, we can take this company public. So they do go public, you go IPO, they raise the capital, they cash out, and your company is now public. They pull out. All right, they protect their risk. Now your company is public. You don't have. You see, so all of these things are things that we would need. We are sharing with you to really ensure that you have the right information and you could make smarter, better decision when it comes to growing and scaling your business and your brand. So, Paul, your last thoughts.
Yeah. Well, on that exact subject, Gary, very interesting that you brought that up, because what's your exit strategy if you finance a piece of equipment for 5 years with equipment leasing? Your exit strategy is you make every single payment on time and you own it. Same thing, you buy a duplex. What's your exit
Yeah.
strategy? Well, you don't have an exit strategy because you want to own that thing until you sell it. It's just make the payments for the next 20, 15, 20, 30 years and pay it off and then own it and manage it. Now let's talk about building a factory. And it's so interesting that you brought that up. What's the exit strategy for these factories with the the two investment bankers that I represent who are doing these projects for my clients? Least expensive money first, structure it the right way the first time to raise the money for the startup business, right? But as you said, typically you've got 5 to 7 years before anybody who puts investment money into it. And remember, we're minimizing investor money, we're maximizing debt, but there's still investor money. Okay. So that investor money has to be paid off. How's that going to happen? Well, you have the plan at the beginning. You don't raise money and then come up with a secondary plan to buy them out. You have to know that plan right at the beginning. When you're raising the original money, know the plan that you're going to buy them out with. If you don't,
Mhm.
then you got a 50-50 shot of disaster. So the guys that I work with,
You're correct.
here's their plan. 3 years, when these factories are built, 3 years down the road, when we've got 3 years of taxes, operating statements, balance sheets, profit and loss, we got the whole financial package for 3 years. What does that make available? It makes lender money available. Now, we've already involved some level of lender money. Remember, I told you there's the bond markets, there's local government money. Local government money, you might not even have to pay it back. So that might not even be an issue. We go grant money if it exists, local government money, uh, bond markets, if they exist, if it's relevant to that industry, to that capital raise, lender money, then investor money. So 3 years down the road, my guys, they already know. They tell our clients, the clients, it's their choice to say yes or no. But all of my clients have said yes because they love the guys that I bring to them. And the plan is, after we got 3 years of operating statements, we're going to refinance you with less expensive debt through lenders, because now you qualify for lender money. Before, you were a startup. You didn't qualify for lender money. Now that's the startup arena. Let's move to, if we're doing a capital raise for growth capital. We're coming in, we're seeing what they got right there, assessing it, putting the pieces in order. You start from 30,000 foot up looking down. By the time you get to ground level, everything's lined up perfectly with financial models that are built that tell the story. And refinance debt. Always have your escape plan. If you are going, always have your escape plan. That's why people wear
Yep,
parachutes in airplanes, right? But that's your escape plan. You know it from.
exactly.
So yeah, that's my ad, Gary.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. I must ask you to share with us again, in closing. Just go through quickly your financial portfolios to help the audience to know what is possible. All to you, Paul.
Okay. Well, Patriot BFC, B for business, F for finance, C for consultant. Patriot BFC is our .com's our website. Paul at patriotbfc.com if you want to get a hold of me. And to sum it up, there's not much that we can't do for you as far as structuring business finance for you. If you need equipment, we got you. If you got difficult credit and you've been declined by your bank and you feel hopeless, it's not hopeless. I mean, here's the harder part. It's going to take money down, but we've been creative on that before too. That's a lot of things we talk about, Gary. Okay. If you
Yeah,
don't have the money down, how do you get it? Guerrilla warfare. How do you get what you need if you have nothing at all? So, yeah. Equipment financing, we got you covered. Excellent credit to difficult credit. Real estate financing, same exact scenario. And what you can count on from us, from Gary, from me, from everybody involved with the High Network Investors Guide would be structuring the deal for you with the best outcome in mind. We're consultants. That's what you're paying us to do. By the way, you don't pay us up front for these types of deals. A lot of times the lender pays us. And in some cases with real estate financing, just like other mortgage brokers, we're going to charge you points. That's how we profit. Profit's not a bad word. And the profit that we make is an expense for you. That's called the cost of doing business. Everybody's got to get paid. Nobody does anything for free. So we got you.
exactly.
Yeah, we got you with equipment financing. We got you with real estate financing, cash flow products. If your cash flow is slow, we're going to make it go. Purchase order financing. If you need to fulfill an order, but you cannot do it, here's the truth. You can do it. You just didn't have that information. You didn't have that knowledge. But you can. You can make these things happen. Something can happen out of nothing. It's like, know that. Know that.
Where there is a will, there is a way.
There is. Yeah, don't feel hopeless. We're here to take that hopeless feeling away from you and provide you the information and let you know that it can happen and you are approved. That's
You
it.
got it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for that share, Paul. So there you the audience who is looking at us across social media platform. I trust that you find today's program to be highly informative, and I want to say this. I trust that you had as much fun as we had here today, just sharing with you. All right. So remember, if you have a friend who is in business, they want to achieve more, you can share this podcast with them. And remember, like, subscribe, and share. So you will be the first to get these programs when we are on air. All right. So I want to say do enjoy the rest of the weekend. We are in the Christmas holiday, Paul. The Christmas is on Monday, so we
Hmm.
would not be here until Saturday. So I want to say Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas to all of our audience and your family and your friends.
Merry Christmas.
Awesome.